Good, happy Monday evening. I'm Riley King, and welcome to this Monday evening edition of the Riley King Newscast, right here on the Riley King Network. We have a lot of news to get to this Monday evening, so let's begin. First up, star athletes stumble during Olympics opening weekend. Let's take a listen to this video from CBS News.
We're going to turn now to the Summer Olympics. Tonight, China leads the overall medal count with 18, followed by the U.S. with 14. So far, Team USA is being led by American swimmers who've won 8 medals. But it's not all gold, as gymnastics superstar Simone Biles admits the pressure is getting to her ahead of the women's team final. CBS's Jamie Lucas is in Tokyo.
Tonight, there is growing concern Team USA might be losing its way. The star-studded men's basketball team suffered a stunning 7-point defeat to France, its first loss since 2004. Dan Wolken covers basketball for USA Today.
It's frustrating because they should be better than this.
Katie Ledecky, who won 4 gold medals in 2016, had to settle for silver in the 400-meter freestyle, losing to Australia's Ariane Titmus.
It's never an easy journey to the podium, and so it's not something I take for granted being up there.
Even USA Gymnastics is feeling the pressure, finishing second to the Russians in the qualifying round for the first time in more than a decade. Simone Biles writing, "I truly do feel like I have the weight of the world on my shoulders."
When you look at Team USA, do we have a problem?
We'll just have to see as we go along. It's still very, very early in this process.
But there were some bright spots. Among them, gold for the men's relay, keeping Caleb Dressel's dream of winning 7 gold medals alive. A typhoon turned tropical storm tracking north of Tokyo postponed several events, while COVID cases continue to mount, with at least 153 positive tests connected to the games now, including Spain's golf superstar Jon Rahm.
As the gymnastics team looks to a rebound in competition in the next round, they're down one of their own. Michaela Skinner, the squad's oldest member, is headed home after failing to qualify for an events final. She says on Instagram she's heartbroken. It was her first Olympics. Nora. Jamie Lucas, thank you.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Students adapt wheelchair to allow teacher's husband to take newborn for a walk. Let's take a listen to that video from CBS News.
We take you now to Potomac, Maryland. That's just outside D.C. Some students there designed a life-changing invention, and CBS's Chip Reed has the story.
When Phoenix King was born 4 months ago, his parents, Jeremy and Chelsea, faced a difficult road ahead.
My husband Jeremy had brain surgery just over 3 years ago to remove a brain tumor, which left him with some physical challenges, some physical disabilities.
One big question, how could he safely take Phoenix for a walk? Chelsea, a teacher at Bullis, a private school in Maryland, contacted the head of the school's technology lab. He presented the challenge to his students, including Jacob Zlatnitsky and Ivanka Espinoza, who both hope to study astrophysics in college.
What was the best part about coming up with this design and seeing that it worked?
Just seeing the smiles on their faces.
And the relief that, it worked.
The We Stroll, as they call it, won 2 international design awards.
Pull it nice and taut.
This is really secure.
Yes, and I think they dumped a bunch of cinder blocks in it and actually, weight tested it at the school a couple times, which I think the kids were really into.
For Jeremy, it's a godsend.
I never thought I'd be able to do something like this safely. I feel wonderful. I feel ecstatic.
Ecstatic over the simple pleasure of taking a stroll with his family. Chip Reed, CBS News, Potomac, Maryland.
Don't you just love that story? Well done to those students.
I was interested in cool sculpting elite because I have this little problem area. I wouldn't call it so much as a problem as
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Great story there. California and New York City mandate COVID vaccines for public workers. Let's take a listen to that video from CBS News.
Good evening, and thank you so much for joining us. We're going to begin with the new push to get more Americans vaccinated. As the nation's top infectious disease doctor warns, the U.S. is moving in the wrong direction. Now, local governments are taking matters into their own hands. We actually learned today that New York City will require all 400,000 city workers to get shots or face weekly testing. And California will begin checking proof of vaccination for all of their state employees. And then the Department of Veterans Affairs became the first federal agency to require vaccinations for its healthcare workers. And there is some positive news. Vaccinations are up nearly 14% in the last week, meaning the message that the shots could help stop the spread of the highly contagious Delta variant might be working. We have team coverage of the pandemic. CBS's David Begnaud is in hard-hit Mississippi, but CBS's Manuel Bojorquez is going to lead us off from Florida, which now leads the country in new infections. Good evening, Manny.
Good evening, Nora. The University of Florida Health System here in Jacksonville is seeing more COVID-19 patients now than at any other time during the pandemic. At one point last month, they had only 14 COVID-positive patients. Now there are 178. More than 90% are unvaccinated, and doctors fear we may not see the peak of this surge until September.
What has this been like for you?
62-year-old Curtis Sanderlin recently lost his wife to COVID. Now he, too, is battling to survive.
Did you get the vaccine, the shot?
No, sir.
Is there a reason why you decided that not to
I
get it?
haven't decided not to get it. I just haven't, I've been contained.
You haven't gotten around to it.
Right.
More than 1 out of every 5 new COVID cases in the U.S. are in Florida. The state's cases jumped 60% in 1 week.
We're going in the wrong direction. If you look at the inflection of the curve of new cases, it is among the unvaccinated. If we don't vaccinate people, the model is going to predict that we're going to be in trouble as we continue to get more and more cases.
Today, a groundbreaking announcement from the president. The lingering impacts of long COVID, including brain fog and chronic pain, are now covered under the Americans with Disabilities Act. Meanwhile, Pfizer and Moderna are both weighing expanding the size of their vaccine studies in kids as young as 5. Reportedly at the urging of the FDA. And Dr. Anthony Fauci now says the CDC is considering revising mask recommendations, even for the vaccinated. Today, more than 50 health organizations, including the American Medical Association and the American Academy of Pediatrics, are now calling for all healthcare workers to be required to be vaccinated. Back here at the University of Florida Health System in Jacksonville, only 50% of all workers are fully vaccinated. Chad Nielsen is Director of Infection Prevention.
They consume the same news, they consume the same social media as others, and they're just as susceptible to some of the misinformation and things like that in the communities.
But the surge, fueled by the more contagious Delta variant, is not just affecting the unvaccinated.
Elective surgeries are already being paused at our institution and across the city, and so we're literally putting off medical procedures that people do need because our hospital's filled with unvaccinated people.
Like Curtis Sanderlin, who now has this message for the vaccine hesitant. Manuel Bojorquez, CBS News, Jacksonville.
It's time to help people customize and save Liberty Mutual.
Find a flight that's the right price. Airline, stops, cabin class, and more. Search Kayak now.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Jet fuel shortage disrupts flights in western U.S. Let's take a listen to that video from CBS News.
A shortage of jet fuel is disrupting flights across several western states. Adding to the problem is the extra fuel needed by aircraft fighting the wildfires. There's less fuel available because of a shortage of tanker truck drivers and refineries not being at full capacity.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. And we are going to switch gears now, and here's a check of your weather this evening across the United States for this Monday evening. As you can see, it's dry along the East Coast with a little bit of rain in Raleigh, North Carolina, and Charlotte, Carolina, and some rain in Atlanta as well. And then by Florida, sprinkles of showers. New Orleans, some showers. Oklahoma City, some showers, and some showers along here and along here as well. Otherwise, the rest of the United States looks fairly dry and good. Not too bad, and no major storm issues on radar this evening. And thank you for joining us for this evening edition of the Riley King Newscast right here on the Riley King Network. I hope you all have a great evening, and thank you for watching and tuning in. See you tomorrow for another broadcast. Good night. Goodbye.